The 1950s was one of the so-called golden eras in American history, when the war just recently ended and the economy was growing, and new trends started to arise in food, music, and fashion. And of course, the same effect went into cars. In the 1950s, car manufacturers were no longer needed to create military vehicles, and now they can focus on into making their own cars, and some of the most memorable cars in American history were made during this era. Cars like the Cadillac Coupe de Ville and the Ford Thunderbird. And of course, some cars were more memorable than others.
There it is, everybody, the 59 Chevy. One look and you gotta say, it's all new, all over again.
Chevrolet is the one that
For driving fun like this, visit your Chevrolet dealer. Go for a pleasure ride. When you do, you'll find out.
Take a look, folks, the new Impala 4-door sports sedan.
Now take a look at this. This is the 1959 Chevrolet Impala, an absolute looker of a car. And to me, in my opinion, this is one of those cars that really represent American car culture in the 50s. This car was built in an era when style was what's most important in a car, and it shows. Now, of course, this wasn't the only car that came up in Chevy's lineup in 1959. The Impala itself came in different body styles. There was the sedan, there was the two-door, and of course there was the convertible. And there's also the Bel Air, which came out with it, and of course one of my personal favorites, the Chevrolet Nomad station wagon. Now, when I say the Impala was one of those cars that represent American car culture in the 50s, I really do mean it. For example, American cars in the 50s were known for having a huge amount of chrome on their bodies, and as you can clearly see, the Impala is certainly no exception. It's got a front more reflective than a mirror shop. The Impala was fitted with an extensive amount of chrome on the bumpers, the grille, and also on the waistline. And the Impala was also fitted with these dual headlamps on either side and these non-functional air intakes. And of course, who could forget the Impala's iconic bubble windscreen, which extends all the way to the side, and it's a real sky opener, they said. It's so big and wide, you can see everything. And of course, you can always add a little bit more style, just like this one with 18-inch Foose wheels. And if you were to go around to the back here, this is where the Impala's good side starts to come up. As we know, American cars in the 50s were known for having fin tails, and the Impala is certainly no exception, because just look at the size of these things. Now, they're called batwing rear fenders, and just by looking at it, you can already tell it's self-explanatory why they're called that way. And of course, we have these iconic teardrop-shaped tail lights. And just as a challenge for modern-day people who work at gas stations, where's the fuel filler cap? Is it on the fenders? The bonnet? No. Turns out, the fuel filler cap is located right over here, behind the license plate. And while we're in the back here, let's check the boot, shall we? Now, you get a huge amount of space in the boot of the 59 Impala. You could probably fit around 5 or more different traveling suitcases. Probably good enough for a road trip. And probably 5 dead bodies. Just a thought. Now, we cannot miss the interior of the Impala, especially one like this, because this one has a rather exceptional one. This is probably the best interior color you can get in a 59 Impala. In fact, this interior color really fits very well with the exterior of this specific one. This is probably the best color combination you can get in a 59 Impala. Red interior, black body, white top. Absolute perfection. Now, there are 5 different dials on the instrument cluster. The one in the middle is obviously the speedometer with the odometer on the same dial. And there's also one for the fuel tank indicator, the one for the temperature gauge, and also a little clock. And also, this car has a radio, which surprisingly, until now, still works. And in the back here, there's literally lots of room for you to bring around 4 of your mates in the back. Now, another thing you may realize about the Impala is that it's very big. I mean, this thing is a literal thick boy. It's bigger than my self-esteem. The Impala is 210.9 inches long with a 119-inch wheelbase, 79.9 inches wide, and 56 inches high. Now, just to put into a better perspective, we've parked a V10 Volkswagen Touareg next to this Impala. Now, in terms of width, sure, they're both similar, although the Touareg is already such a big car, it probably already has trouble fitting into most tight roads, but the Impala is a tad bit wider than the Touareg. And then there's the context of length. Now, don't get me wrong, if you were to look at the Touareg alone, just sitting here by itself, it would look like a fairly long car, but with the Impala next to it, it looks kind of short, doesn't it? If there's one thing every single American car from the 1950s needs, it's of course a big V8. Now, the Impala, to be specific, this Impala, was originally fitted with a 348 cubic inch V8. However, when this specific one was restored, the engine was swapped with a 350 cubic inch small block V8. Right. Now, can I just say that this video was taken exactly on December 31st, 2021, which means it's only a few hours to the new year on the day that this video was taken. Now, this video is of course going to be published a bit later than December 31st, but nonetheless, I just want to say I hope you all had a very wonderful Christmas and a very happy New Year. And that's it. That's the end of the video. I hope to see you again next year, and goodbye. And also, my camera battery's dying.